Alright, this is going to be a build video for hunters discussing the capabilities of Radiant Dance machines, as well as just talking about some of the stuff I thought up for them, but it's not really a set build, it's just some ideas for it, because it can kind of work with pretty much anything. But they updated it this season. You still get the multi-dodge when you dodge near an enemy, but as long as you keep getting kills, that multi-dodge is available forever. So my first thought was use it with a subclass that gives you a benefit every time you dodge, like Vanishing Step. So I put it on, put honestly whatever else you want on, except I put the buff on so my invis lasts longer. Why not have weakening from your grenades? And then the main thing was Echo of Starvation, because I thought about using the Reaper mod. So you can literally just use your dodge, kill an enemy, and then dodge again, and you'll, with Powerful Attraction, you'll pick up the orb and proc Devour. So I put on a Dynamo, because you have to dodge near enemies in the first place to even get it to work, so you're going to be seeing a lot of use out of Dynamo. Gloves, I tried to just spec into dodge cooldown, which I'm sure you've noticed my abysmal mobility. I never play Hunter, so I don't have any mobility armor, but you may not need bolstering detonation if you have a lot of mobility. But the thing about Radiant Dance machines is if you do let it run out, it drains your dodge ability, so you'll have to wait for it to come back. Chest piece doesn't really matter. I'm not even really using armor charge stacks. I just put this stuff on so I can actually keep picking up orbs. Put on whatever surge you want, because that's pretty much the only things I'm using orbs for. I'm not creating void breaches, so you don't need elemental charge, and I spawn so many orbs you don't need stacks on stacks. The main thing is the cloak, because you need Reaper so that every dodge your next kill spawns an orb, and then you dodge right after that with Powerful Attraction, just pick it right back up. So what I've accidentally done is make probably the closest thing to a stealth build I've ever seen. You need a weapon, preferably a good weapon that can for sure kill in one hit. I chose Wish Ender because the nice thing about bows is drawing a bow does not break your invisibility, only releasing the arrow does. So you can safely draw and aim, and then once you're sure you're going to get the shot, release, and then just dodge again, and you're only exposed for like a second. Not to mention you get an orb every time that heals you when you pick it up. So this build pretty much is probably going to be pretty good for Nightfalls if you're forced to be near enemies. I wouldn't recommend going near enemies if you can help it, but maybe in lower tier Nightfalls. But either way, it's a very slow-paced build. Some people probably won't like it, but it's very effective because you're barely ever even targeted by enemies. I'm going to use my super up just so you can see how fast I get it back with Dynamo. You don't have to use Wish Ender, but it was the highest single shot weapon that came to mind for me. So activate the multi-dodge, you're invisible, kill the first guy, dodge. It's just nothing but this. Extremely safe. Still really good damage. We haven't even talked about the DPS potential of Radiant Dance machines. Make sure you have the reload dodge on, at least for this loadout. You can see every time I dodge, I pick up the orb I just spawned. So if I want, I can use my abilities way more. Because Devour, as you can see, I already have half my grenade back from Devour. I will show, like I said, if the multi-dodge wears off, you do lose your dodge charge, as you can see. So if you don't have high mobility like me, you're kind of dead in the water until that resets. But I do still have Devour. so I can dodge back faster. Obviously, a person who actually plays Hunter all the time wouldn't have this issue because they have a high mobility stat. Unlike me. Kind of weakened a little bit. As you see, I already have my super back. I was only dodging like half that time. Dynamo puts in work. Like I said, it's slow paced, but it is definitely a different playstyle. Feels unique, at the very least. Then I'm going to show you the DPS potential. You can pull out like a rocket launcher, super, and then just... Oh, I messed it up because I lost my multi-dodge, so that's alright. I'm not going to waste the rest of my rockets when I could show the actual DPS. So I'll just wait till I get super back. Shouldn't take long, there should be enough enemies left. They also did buff Spectral Blades recently, if that interests you, to use of this. More invisibility. They made it to where I believe the uppercut that brings you out of invisibility weakens enemies now. And I think they increased the base damage of it as well. Alright, enemies are spawning again. Just make sure you're in range of that orb when you dodge. Let's see, I didn't spawn. I also have firepower on, so that my grenades spawn orbs as well. Just gonna dodge near him to proc Dynamo a couple more times. Just get some stuff to get my super back, and then I'll actually do the damage phase once I have my dodge again. Quote unquote damage phase. Just showing what you could do with this setup in a raid. Because it's got really good safety from all the dodges, but it's also got pretty good DPS. Stuff like this, where you rocket, dodge, rocket, dodge, rocket, dodge, and you can just keep doing it until you run out of ammo. That's one combo I found was pretty useful with it. I'm gonna go to Vault of Glass, fight a bit weaker enemies, it's more like the stuff you'd see in raids. But the other loadout I set up for it was on Stasis with, I believe it was Stasis. Oh yeah. So I was running double special with it. You don't have to, but this one was more focused on just using nothing but your melees as normal ad clear, and then just dodging up to something, popping them with Fourth Horseman, and then getting back to the melees. I did notice that the Winter Shroud, where your dodge slows enemies, it seems to only activate on the first dodge, unfortunately. But the main reason I'm using Stasis is just because the melee is so nice, and also because it's going to kick me out of my inventory if I open it again. Whisper of Impetus was the main reason I went with Stasis, because using your Stasis melee against an enemy reloads your stowed weapons. So it has good ad clear because you're getting your melee back constantly, but it also still has decent DPS potential because you can just shoot two weapons swap to the third one, use your melee, reload the other two, then empty that one, then dodge. Like, you can just keep cycling, which is why something like Force Horseman is great, is because you can empty it very quickly. And this one is a bit more offensive. It's not nearly as safe. The only real healing you have is in Whisper of Rhyme. Obviously, still Dynamo is pretty nice. I just didn't have anything better to do. This is more talking about the interaction with subclasses than actual setups. I just slapped some stuff on. Probably want recuperation if you're not running Devour, so that every orb heals you. Still powerful attraction, obviously, but you don't need, unless you're using a weapon to kill stuff instead of your melees, you don't need Reaper, but you do need heavy-handed. And in the subclass, I have Rhyme, so I can get these Stasis over shields with Whisper of Conduction because I'm running Grim Harvest. Whisper of Durance, so that stuff stays slowed and frozen longer. Class ability energy from defeating frozen or slowed enemies. So if I do lose my dodge, I throw a. Actually, I could throw a Dusk Field. Yeah, you could throw a Dusk Field and then kill the enemy slowed by it to get your dodge back really quickly. And then, of course, Whisper of Impetus. So I'm just going to show what this can do with pretty much not using any ammo except to take out the tankier enemies. Honestly, the enemies may spawn too far apart from each other for me to take good advantage of it, because because they're very far away, the multi-dodge kind of runs out. So you do need a steady flow of enemies with both of these loadouts. So yeah, another reason it may not be the best for Nightfalls, because you're not going to be dealing with enemies that quickly together usually. You can always dodge twice to get both melees back if you want to. This probably wasn't the best place to show it off, just because there's actually, it does seem to spawn a bunch more enemies up at the top. Or at the very least, they're closer together. You could put a Focusing Strike on, so that every melee hit gives you dodge ability energy. Or class ability. As you see, I pretty much have a full stasis overshield all the time. But also, every single time you hit something with your stasis melee, it reloads your stoked weapons. As you can see, that nimble arsenal, and really speeds up their ready speed. So I didn't find a great specific damage rotation to use with this setup, but I'm sure some of you hunters could think of the exact best way to optimize DPS. Because obviously your dodge doesn't simply reload your weapons anymore. You do have to hit something with a melee first. But, I mean, you could do something like empty both weapons and die if I'm not careful. I hate hobgoblins. Yeah, Bog wasn't the best place to come, but may want to only use this setup in much more ad-heavy environments. Wow. And I have 100 resilience. Oh well. Either way, you can see, you could simply say I empty that weapon, empty this one, and then fire this one, and then you get your melee, get something with it, and then it reloads both your other weapons, and you can just do it again. Use whatever weapons you want, really. I mean, if you want to go crazy, you could use Monte Carlo as well, but actually, you could use a classy contender weapon from Guardian Games to give your dodge back faster if you do lose it. I just picked Fourth Horseman because it empties fast, so you could technically, when given the chance, just like empty all your magazines really quickly, and then one melee would reload 2 of them. Unfortunately, it doesn't reload your equipped weapon though, so you gotta kind of think about which one you want to, left unloaded. Maybe you could run a single auto-loading weapon, and that could be the one you swap to use your melee. But I mean, you'd be able to throw 2 melees, so you get 2 reloads, assuming you have all your ability charges. And then you could do 2 more dodges near an enemy, and get both of them back. And at that point, unless you're getting kills, Radiant Dance Machines would probably deactivate. But that's still 4 automatic reloads of all your weapons if you're running one auto-loading weapon. Not to mention, Silence and Squall is good for raids because enemies that are frozen take 10% more damage from all sources, so you're buffing your whole fire team during damage phases. But yeah, we could talk about, you could, I mean, I don't know why you would, but you could also use it with Acrobat's dodge over and over. I don't know why you would feel the need to make people radiant over and over when it lasts like 15 seconds every time, but if you really wanted to, you could. I feel like you don't really need dodges all that much on Solar because you have the Ember of Singeing as well as Weighted Knife. Precision kills give your class ability back instantly. I couldn't think of many uses for it on Solar. Strand I don't have unlocked yet on the Hunter, but I did confirm that it doesn't work with the new aspect that spawns the decoy. It doesn't just keep spawning decoys over and over, unfortunately. And Arc, I mean, we all know Assassin's Cowl, Liar's Handshake is just a better option for Arc Hunter than this would be, because you already instantly get your dodges back. But for Void and Stasis, it seemed pretty valuable. Obviously, you could even run this in PvP, but the issue is you would have to get that first dodge near an enemy to get it going, and then manage to kill something every couple seconds. So it'd be good for like Eruption, but other than that, you would have to be very proactive with killing stuff to keep your multi-dodge up. But I found the Void to be more fun, but if you like just throwing shurikens forever, you could use that. The only issue with that is you have to be near enemies to get your melee back when you use it. So whereas the first one, you only have to be near your enemies the first time you use your dodge, then it's whenever you dodge anywhere, you go invisible. With the Stasis one, you have to dodge near enemies every time to get your melee back. But if you have that Stasis over shield and healing from orbs, you should be able to stay alive pretty well, unless there are 10 hobgoblins lasering you. But yeah, that was pretty much all I wanted to talk about, just some of the ideas you could do with it.